Hello everyone, welcome to another test drill sa soil science naman. So simulan natin. Number one, these are cultural practices that promotes soil erosion, except one. So we are looking for something that do not promote soil erosion. So ito yung mga situations. Letter A, plowing up and down a slope. Letter B, growing corn with rows laid along the slope. Letter C, growing potato on beds laid along the slope. Or letter D, growing corn with rows laid on the contour. Now, we all know what soil erosion is, di ba? Soil erosion is the process kung saan yung top layer ng ating soil is being worn away or naaalis due to factors like wind, water, and human activities. So, soil erosion is a very important, it's a major concern for farmers kasi kapag naaalis yung topsoil na yan, it also carries out the nutrients that are in the topsoil, which mostly organic matter nutrients na kailangan ng halaman for growth. Kaya naman, let's try isa-isahin natin i-analyze uh, yung mga choices from this question. Okay? So unahin natin, plowing up and down the slope. So what does that mean? So I have a photo here of a sloping land. So plowing up and down the slope means magke-create yung way mo ng pagke-create ng furrows or trenches, let's say, would be aligned aligned alongside your slope. So kung ano yung direction ng slope, doon mo rin pupunuin doon mo rin ganun din yung direction ng mga furrows na gagawin mo. So if you're going to look at this photo, will this encourage soil erosion or not? Now, given this, since inalign mo yung mga canals, yung mga trenches mo, yung mga furrows mo sa direction ng slope, kapag umulan dyan, okay, magkakaroon ka ng parang waterfalls. Alright? So, yung waterfall effect na yan, kumbaga, will encourage soil erosion. So, it would actually remove yung mga yung topsoil mo and the nutrients involved in it. So, plowing up and down the slope is not the correct answer. Kasi nga, it actually encourages soil erosion. Now, how about growing corn with rows laid along the slope and growing potato on beds laid along the slope? So ano rin yung ibig sabihin ng mga yan? So halos parehas lang sila. It just means that you are now creating your bed in the direction of the slope as well. So create mo yung bed mo in that direction, tataniman mo yung mga beds na yan ng potato and corn. So therefore, dahil direction nga ulit yan ng slope, kakaroon ka ng parang waterfalls pag yan ay umulan. So it would actually encourage soil erosion. Okay, so situation number 1, 2, and 3 will encourage soil erosion. So you're now left with this. Growing corn with rows laid on the contour. So let's see, ano bang ibig sabihin yan? Let's try to picture it by this illustration. So when you say you will grow your crop along the contours, ibig sabihin yan, kinokontra mo yung slope. So kung ito yung slope natin, okay? Kung yan yung sloping land na gusto nating taniman, the way we plant the rows would be parallel, okay? Parallel to the slope. Kasi yan yung contour ng lupa. So kapag ganyan ang ginawa mo at nagkaroon ng precipitation, let's say dito sa taas, then this practice now, then the contours now, since yung rows ang tinaniman mo, will reduce soil erosion. Kasi yung pag-flow ng water na pababa dyan, instead na dire-diretso, such as the case here, di ba? Instead na dire-diretso, parang waterfalls. Dito sa situation na to, it is now being slowed down. Kasi may mga rows ka na that acts as barriers helping to capture and retain water than allowing the water to run off and causing soil erosion. Okay? Kaya letter D is the correct answer for this. Now, just want to clarify, ano ba yung sinasabi natin kasing contour dyan? Kasi sabi niya dito, growing corn with rows laid on the contour. Ano ba ang contour? Contour is this. Okay? Contour, in the context sa ating soil science, wait lang, iburahin natin tong mga to para malinis. Okay, so ang contour in the context of soil science is basically an imaginary line sa surface ng lupa that connects points of equal elevation. So, ibig sabihin yan, kapag lumakad ka sa isang contour line, so for example, lumakad ka sa contour nito, 3-5 line na yan, pag diniretso mo yan, hindi ka tataas and hindi ka rin bababa. So you will neither lose elevation or you will neither gain or lose elevation. So you would stay at the same height relative to the sea level at that point. So yan yung contour ng lupa. So kung ito yung slope, okay? Yung contour is the line that is contradicting it at some point or intercepting it. Yan yung term. So it's the line that is intercepting it. Kaya naman if you plant along the contours, you are actually creating barriers that would slow down your soil erosion. So letter D ang tamang sagot, growing corn with rows laid on the contour. Question number 2, to conserve the nitrogen it contains, animal manure should be stored in, so saan mo daw itatago ang animal manure para ma-conserve yung ating nitrogen? Are we going to keep it in loose, moist condition, in compact, dry condition, in compact, moist condition, or in loose, dry condition? So para mas masagot natin itong tanong na to, gumawa ako ng isang illustration for us to easier match yung mga choices na yan. So unahin natin, dry condition, dry and loose condition. So unahin natin yan. Now when you store yung manure in a loose and dry condition, nako-conserve ba natin yung nitrogen or hindi? Ang sagot, hindi. Okay? So bakit hindi? Kasi dahil loose yung condition and dahil loose and dry yung condition, nagkakaroon yan ng nitrogen loss. So, hindi nako-conserve ang nitrogen, nawawala siya. Why? Kasi, unang-una, loose yung structure. So, it is allowing more air to actually circulate. So, if you have more air circulating in your manure, it is promoting now nitrogen loss through volatilization. Volatilization. Meaning, yung nitrogen doon na in solid or liquid form, nagiging gas and pumupunta sa atmosphere. Oh, how about this? Loose and moist condition naman. Now, this one, same as the earlier one, dahil loose yung condition, this will also not conserve nitrogen. Okay? Kahit na moist pa yung condition na yan, kumbaga, basa yan, kapag loose, ibig sabihin maraming hangin na dumadaan, it would still encourage volatilization and magdi-dissipate lang din yung nitrogen from the animal manure going to the atmosphere. How about this one? Compact and dry condition. So ito, compact and dry condition. So, compact na siya. So, which is good. Ibig sabihin, less yung air exposure. However, dry yung condition. Okay? So, kapag dry yung condition, it is very difficult for the manure to 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 encourage yung mga different microbial processes that stabilizes the nitrogen. And itong mga microbial processes na to needs moisture. So actually, dryness can cause the manure, so it can cause the manure to be hard and difficult to manage. And dahil doon, it can also lead to the loss of nitrogen as ammonia gas. So unang-una, compact nga, pero sobrang dry naman. Ibig sabihin nun, wala ngang air na nagsa-circulate. However, kulang sa moisture para sana bigyan yung mga bacteria and tumulong doon sa pagpe-preserve and pag-i-stabilize nung nitrogen. So at the same time, isipin mo rin kapag dry and compact yan, suitable rin yan for actually cracking. So pwedeng mag-crack yung manure mo, pwede siyang isipin niyo yung pulburon. Kumbaga, pwede siyang madurog. And kapag nadurog yan, nagiging loose din siya. Right? So, hindi rin ito yung tamang sagot to conserve animal manure. Ay, to conserve the nitrogen, in animal manure. So, ang pinakatamang sagot is compact and moist condition. So, that's the right answer. When you store your manure, gusto mo moist yung condition, but at the same time compact, wala masyadong hangin na pumapasok. Okay? So if you reduce the amount of oxygen that get into your animal manure, you are also conserving now the nitrogen within it. Ini-slow down mo yung aerobic decomposition process that would lead to nitrogen loss. At the same time, yung pagiging moist nung iyong manure helps keep the manure in a state that supports yung anaerobic decomposition ng mga bacteria. So itong anaerobic decomposition ng mga bacteria actually helps in stabilizing the levels of nitrogen in your manure. Kaya kapag gusto mong magtago ng manure for fertilizer purposes, especially to keep nitrogen, you need to keep it in a moist and compact condition. So letter C ang tamang sagot. Next question. A surface horizon that is too light in color and too low in organic matter or too thin. So ano kaya ang tawag doon sa surface horizon na too light, too low in organic matter, or too thin? So ang tamang sagot dyan is molic, ocric, histic, or umbric. Ocric epipidon po ang tawag dyan. Okay? Now, ano ulit ang epipidon? Sa soil science, epipidon basically means the uppermost layer of your soil. So, kung yan yung soil mo, yan yung soil profile mo, epipidon mo is this one, uppermost layer of your soil. And this uppermost area, you can classify it accordingly, especially when it comes to kung gaano ba karami yung organic matter na nag-accumulate doon. Kaya yun yung pag-uusapan natin kung bakit ocric yung tamang sagot dito sa question na to. Kasi we have to understand that the question is asking for the epipidon with low organic matter. And so we need to describe, ito bang molic, histic, and umbric? Mataas ba ang content ng mga organic matter na to? And if yes, ano kaya ang itsura nila? And ano yung differences nila sa isa't isa? So unahin natin yung molic epipidon. So ang molic epipidon, yes, mataas ang organic matter ng epipidon na yan. It is characterized by a thick, dark, and rich layer of soil with high content of organic matter. So, gaano karami yung organic matter? More than 1%. So, tandaan nyo, sa lupa, kapag ang organic matter nyo is 1%, mataas na yan. Okay? Mataas na po yan. 1% na organic matter sa yung epipedon or sa topmost layer ng yung lupa, mataas na yan. Ang molic epipedon ay mayaman rin sa base cations or sa mga basic nutrients. So, ibig sabihin yan, mataas rin ang kanilang buffering capacity. Kumbaga, hindi sila basta-basta nagiging acidic kasi nga mataas yung base cations nila that neutralizes acidity in this kind of soil. O how about yung ocric? Ocric epipedon, too light in color, mababa rin ang organic matter, and manipis as compared to the other choices na nandun kanina. So, this one, hindi siya fertile. Okay? Kasi nga, mababa ang organic matter. And usually, these are found in areas that are arid and semi-arid or yung areas na dry. So, mahirap magtanim sa mga ganitong klaseng lupa. Okay? May mga tanim siguro na tumutubo dito na hindi ganun kakailangan, kaya di niya ganun kailangan ng moisture content. But if your plant is, let's say, gabi, hindi ka pwedeng magtanim sa isang ocric epipedon. How about itong histic epipedon? Now, ang molic is high organic matter. Ang histic naman, it's very high ang organic matter. So, bakit very high? Kasi ang organic matter content niya is around 20 to 30%. So, this means, itong lupa rin na to, hindi ganun kabilis yung decomposition ng organic matter. Kaya ganito kataas yung kanyang OM content. And yes, exactly, this land is, as what I have said, hindi ganun kabilis yung decomposition process kasi this epipedon is wet and poorly drained. Kumbaga, nag-hold siya ng excess water and hindi basta-basta naaalis yung tubig na yon sa kanyang sa kind of soil na ito. So this histic epipedon is mostly found in very wet areas like bogs and marshes. Okay? It is very high in organic matter, kaya very dark din yung kanyang color. So, very, very opposite ng ocric epipedon natin. Itong next na babanggitin natin, halos kahawig ni ocric epipedon. However, si umbric epipedon, mataas rin ang kanyang organic content. Now, remember, si ocric, mababa organic content, too light in color. Si umbric epipedon, kung mapapansin mo, medyo lighter din yung kanyang color. But, say mo, mataas ang kanyang organic content at around 1% din. So, para siyang si molic epipedon kanina. Ang pinagkaiba lang ni molic kay umbric epipedon is the fact na si umbric epipedon, mababa ang base nutrients niya. Ibig sabihin nun, mababa ang kanyang buffering capacity and yung mga soil na to, they are more acidic. So, they are more prone to becoming acidic as compared to your molic epipedon. So, yun yung pagkakaiba ng umbric and molic. So, parehas silang high organic matter. Ang pagkakaiba lang nila, si umbric, mababa ang base nutrients, ang base saturation niya, whereas si molic, mas mataas ang kanyang base saturation. Kaya naman si umbric, it is a soil epipedon that is more acidic, kahit na mataas yung organic matter. Next question. This is a soil temperature regime wherein the main soil annual temperature. So the mean annual temperature, I think that's mean, not main, is 22 degrees Celsius or higher. And the difference between mean summer and mean winter is less than 5 degrees Celsius. So ano kayang tawag sa soil temperature regime na yan? Mesic, thermic, hyperthermic, or isohyperthermic? So for us to answer this, we need to understand ano ba kasi ang soil temperature regimes. So soil temperature regimes, this is a classification of soil that is based doon sa average annual temperature at a specific depth. So kinukuha natin yung temperature ng lupa at a specific depth, usually around 50 centimeters. Okay. So kung yan yung lupa mo, at 50 centimeters, kukunin natin yung temperature niyan. And kukunin natin in 2 points, in two, what do you call this, season. Kukunin natin yung temperature in the summer months and kukunin natin in the winter months. And then based from the measurement that we get there, we now classify these soils. Now, soil temperature regimes, these are very important kasi it influences yung different biological processes like yung organic matter decomposition, microbial activity sa lupa, and at the same time, plant growth. So, i-discuss ko sa inyo yung mga different soil temperature regimes. Okay? So, let's talk about the different soil temperature regime. So, simulan natin sa cryotic soil temperature regime. So, what does that mean? So, under a cryotic soil temperature regime, ang mean annual temperature is less than 8 degrees Celsius. So, 8 degrees Celsius pababa. And the temperature difference between summer and winter is more than 5 degrees Celsius. And ang frigid is 0 degrees Celsius to 8 degrees Celsius as well. And ang temperature difference between summer and winter is still more than 5 degrees Celsius. So sa madaling salita, kung titingnan natin, halos parehas lang sila. Ano ang pinagkaiba therefore ng cryotic and frigid? Ang pinagkaiba niya, ang cryotic more or less parehas yung temperature niyan, all throughout. So very little lang yung variation. Whereas ang frigid, mas mataas yung variation ng temperature niya between winter and summer. Especially when we talk about summer months. So during summer months, mas mainit ang lupa ni frigid as compared kay cryotic during summer months. So yun yung pinagkaiba nila. So parehas yung mean annual soil temperature, less than 8 degrees Celsius. Temperature difference between summer and winter na more than 5 degrees Celsius. Although during summer months, si frigid mas mainit, si cryotic malamig pa rin. The next one would be mesic. Mesic has a mean annual soil temperature of 8 going to 15 degrees Celsius. Tapos more than 5 degrees Celsius din yung difference between summer and winter. Thermic is from 15 going to 22 degrees Celsius. More than 5 degrees Celsius din ang difference between summer and winter. And hyperthermic would be more than 22 degrees Celsius and more than 5 degrees Celsius ang difference between summer and winter temperature. Now, si isofrigid, isomesic, isothermic, and isohyperthermic, parehas lang niya itong si mesic, so itong si frigid, mesic, thermic, and hyperthermic. Ang pinagkaiba lang is that yung kanilang temperature difference between summer and winter is less than 5 degrees Celsius instead of more than 5 degrees Celsius. Okay? So, ito yung different classifications of soil according to their temperature regime. Is yung soil temperature regime daw kung saan yung mean soil annual temperature is 22 degrees Celsius or higher. So alam natin yan, hyperthermic na yan, right? Kasi mas mataas sa 22 degrees Celsius. So this one. But the mean summer and winter temperature is less than 5 degrees Celsius. So dahil less than 5 degrees Celsius yan, then it now makes it as a isohyperthermic. Okay? Next question. I think this would be the last question. So when nutrients dissolve in water are transported to your root surface, this mechanism of nutrient uptake is called mass flow, diffusion, contact exchange, or root interception. So ang tamang sagot dyan is mass flow. So ano ba kasi yung three physiological mechanisms for nutrient uptake? Or paano ba pumapasok or paano ba nag-absorb yung ating roots ng nutrients? Ano yung tatlong major physiological mechanisms niya? So unang-una dyan is yung tinatawag nating mass flow. Okay? So mass flow, yan yung tamang sagot. So paano nangyayari ang mass flow? So ang primary mechanism nito is that kailangan mo ng tubig. So yung tubig, hahalo doon yung nutrients. Okay? And kapag nakahalo na yung tubig sa nutrients, kumbaga, yung tubig mo magiging carrier siya ng nutrients, and the water now will move from the soil going to the root. So, ang tawag dyan, mass flow. Oh, how about diffusion? Diffusion, yan yung movement naman ng nutrients from an area of higher concentration. So, ito yon. So, kapag yung lupa mo may higher concentration, and yung area na malapit sa roots mo ay may lower concentration, the nutrient will tend to move from higher concentration going to the lower concentration area. So this is the mechanism, diffusion is the mechanism now that allows nutrients from a higher concentration to move to areas with lower concentration, thereby delivering now yung nutrients na kailangan ng iyong root system. Okay, so that's diffusion. Oh, how about interception? Ano yan? So, root interception naman, simply means, yung roots mo habang lumalaki siya, binabangga niya, or it is having a direct contact with the nutrients. And if the roots has a direct contact with the nutrients, nag-a-absorb din siya ng nutrients by that mechanism. So, ang tamang sagot dito is letter A, mass flow. Pero yung ating three physiological mechanisms for nutrient uptake is mass flow. So, yung nutrients pupunta sa tubig, then the tubig will carry the nutrients going to the roots. Diffusion, the nutrients from higher concentration area will move to areas with lower concentration area. And root interception, kung saan the roots will be in physical contact with the nutrients in the soil.